I'd like to start off firstly by just asking you about your boyhood life here in this area. You were born here and you grew up here. So give us an overview of your boyhood experiences that you've had.
Well, Dave, my dad, just after the war, about 1946, 47, he came down and started a little farm on Hector Spruit on behalf of my grandfather, and then eventually we moved over here. I've been born in this area at Hector Spruit, that little hill there, so-called Paul Kruger hunted a lot in that area. That's where the Kruger Park started. So we moved over to this area where we are now, and I grew up in this terrain with all the hunting that has been done in this area. Went to school, the local school at Camp Maiden, and my high school training I had in Nelspruit, where I did a couple of leadership projects, and I don't know what they call a head boy of the place. But I was always very fond of nature. We used to live up in the mountains for many, many years, where we started the farming business, and we did a lot of little small game hunting at that time. This area used to be a part of the migration area from Kruger National Park, as in Sigar's area. Animals moved up in this area, but it used to be then a cattle area for about a couple of years, and then through the time we decided to change this in permanent game area, as it used to be hundreds of years ago. We did some conservation, water resources, we put some more drinking holes, and eventually this whole place started to be a game area and was up to about 23,000 acres, part of Stentor Estates, nature reserve as it's called. And then as my love for being in nature continued, I had a black friend called Dlamini, a person that I hunted from childhood, called Elman in Corsi, and we used to hunt together for about 14 years. From 6 years old, I met him in the mountains one day, and when I got about to 24 years old, I said to the old man, I said, well, he's an old man now, I said, how can we do that permanently? He said to me, boss, just get some people and we hunt them. We teach them the bush, and this is how it came that I've been PH.
So really the idea of the professional hunting thing came from Elmont.
I did not realize really what it holds, what it was, but as finally we retired last year, we were 44 years together.
Really, yeah.
And he's still helping with some safaris when I have people coming. But the idea came from him, and we had the area that existed already.
Yes.
And it was born from there, and from there we hunted Mozambique, different places in Africa, of which was or is the business as it is now. Yeah.
As it is now, yeah. Danie, before you went into the hunting permanently, I understand you had some kind of tertiary career, or tertiary education, to put it that way?
Well, Dave, yes, everybody has to be taught something sometime of his life, and my dad figured that I should be educated in some direction, not just being a bush person. So I first thought of being an architect, and then finally we figured out that law degree would be more in that line, and doing this law degree I graduated in BA law, also in the Zulu language. As I grew up with the Swazis, it was great to be able to have a formal Zulu education. It's a little different in dialect, but still it's the same basics. And I'm glad to say that today I can read and write in Zulu and fluent in that, but that helped me a lot. And then differently, I studied law with all the extras, and finally being not being a lawyer, I still need a degree, I mean, a subject or two for my second degree, being B.Proc. But being a lawyer in the court, I was a far throw from that.
Yeah, a big difference from a bush life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just describe, you've touched on it briefly in terms of Elmon's influence in promoting the idea of professional hunting as a career.
Yeah.
Just touch briefly on the birth of Ngonyameni safaris and the early days of it.
Well, as we were living in my old house with my wife, I married 30 years ago, and I said to you, there's two basic principles that we have to adhere to, is that she has to learn the African language in 6 months and be able to shoot in 6 months. She did that. After about 7 years of marriage, we decided, well, I did my professional hunter course, not course, just the exam. With those days we didn't have courses. At about 27. Before that, I got a lot of people and got a lot of excitement out of that, and that led to this whole thing, and which Elman motivated me. So she said, let's go into something that we can do together. And we, after I've done it, she said she can do it as well. And she was then the second woman that became a woman qualified professional hunter in South Africa. On things. It was second. Bertie Galome's daughter was the first person, and she wanted to be not a man professional hunter, but a woman professional hunter.
Yeah.
So she wanted to prove that you can be a woman professional hunter. There is a space for that. Not trying to be like a man when you're a professional hunter and taking women out after high tea and go and shoot a kudu. Is nothing wrong, because you're still shooting the kudu, you're still judging, and you're still doing what you have to do as a professional hunter.
Yes, yes.
So that is how, and then that is how Ngonyameni actually was born. We sat in a meeting 25 years ago in Faza, and we draw in little pictures, getting bored on the issues that's been spoken on. So we decided on this specific design, and she said, no, that is good enough, and then we carried on with that as Ngonyameni Safaris. Ngonyameni Safaris actually mean place of the lion.
Yes.
And Ngonyameni place off, and then Safaris. It's used to have a lot of lions coming out of the Nsigas area. It used to be a small fence on Kruger Park, and we'll have a lot of lions in the early 70s, 80s, and 90s. We always had a couple of lions coming through during winter time, and we decided to do that. And we started also to build our old camp, Ngonyameni Safaris, together, of which we had for many years, and of which a lot of people would recognize as the Ngonyameni camp. But we are fortunate, and we were blessed that we have now a new camp, also called Ngonyameni, but Ngonyameni Emoyeni means Ngonyameni wind. It's just like 2 mile away, and that is just like, this is little in the wind, but the same areas and same people, and the same ways.
Yes, yes. Still encapsulated the spirit of Ngonyameni as it was.
Yes, it is. It's hard because times pass away, and you have old times and you have new times. You have new people coming up, new trackers, new things that you're building around the spirit of the most important thing, and that is to give the client, the hunter, the best possible experience. There is just one first time in Africa. You can come many times to Africa and you can do a lot of hunts, but there's just once a first time,
Yeah.
and you can never repeat that.
Yes.
So if you do a wrong thing, or if you spoil at first come, I have such a responsibility feeling towards a first comer that he can go back and he can sit and say, well, you know, that was my first time. There's so many things involved in that first time experience. It is not for him just to come and shoot a few animals and go back. It's an emotional experience, and it is very important to me to show him the best first time that he can have, because it will be just the only time.
Yes. I think one of the things that stands out with you is the rapport that you have on two levels. One is the rapport that you build with your clients, and I think the proof of that is in the repeat business that you've had, if we can put it in business terms, from people. In other words, the loyalty of clients that you've had in the past that come back to you. And the second thing is the rapport as a Swazi linguist that you have with your staff and with black folk in the area. I think you really stand head and shoulders above many people in that regard, and I think it has a great advantage.
Dave, you know, you can say, well, it's an advantage. It's just a way of life. It's just what I feel person should be. Yeah. You live in a country, you live in an area where you have interaction between different groups. You have interaction between people. So when you have a person coming to this place to have an experience, and I have a contact with the other side, I explain to them is you're not coming just for experience in a game, you're coming for experience on an African experience.
Yeah.
And this experience consists of not just animals, it consists of people.
Yes.
And I explain to them that it is great to understand also the culture. Like when I go to America, I like to know about the Indians, the Cheyenne, the Sioux, the Apaches, different St. Carlos Apaches, everybody, White Mountains Apaches. I like to know about that.
Yes.
So sometimes I excuse myself to people talking too much about everything. And then one guy told me once, says, Danie, please continue talking. I might not be very interested now, but after some time, I would remember these things, and I would appreciate that regardless of my non-attentional attitude, you regardless went and told me about these things. And I don't try and take hunting time away, but I'm trying to take time that we would have useless used by just go and talk about anything, cars or anything.
Yeah.
Be utilized to do that.
Yes.
As it is.
Yes.
So yes, I try to combine every aspect and make it enjoyable. As if I apply it on myself when I want to go somewhere, this is what I want. And this is, I assume, what people want also coming here.
Well, I think it's true. I think, you know, people are paying for an experience, and going to another continent, they want to maximize the experience that they have there, and I think it's fantastic. It's an all-encompassing type of thing, and I think it's a very good approach there. I think it's really nice. Danie, just chat about some of your early hunting experiences, perhaps, and not necessarily early, but even recent, but things that stand out in your mind, things that have happened.
You know, Dave, one can talk about highlights. It's strange, but when I drive to the airport, that drive, it's like going to write an exam. It is a funny feeling, because it doesn't matter if I'm now about 25 years in the business and more on guiding people. I get excited for the first comer, the first guy that's coming, and then I think, how the hell I'm going to make this the best experience for him.
Yeah.
So that specific time, that is the highlight. The safari itself would be the highlight of my career, what I'm doing.
Yes.
And that is why when we get back, I work together with my staff. I tell him exactly how this person is with his coming, what it is, his attitude, what is his personality, so that they can be also ready for that. That's why I would like to meet somebody over there.
Yeah, yeah. So in other words, you before the safari starts, you actually accommodating, in a sense,
The sense that
his
you can
personality
prepare
type
for
and-
that.
Yeah.
That makes me it easy and everybody it easy. And if we would be able to visit in the States too, or in Europe, whatever circumstance, it makes it just better and exciting.
Yeah. There must have been some people, some clients that really do stand out in your mind.
Yeah, you know, Dave, the other day I was sitting, and the way we're hunting with my truckers, we always say, and go where we shot the kudu. They never specify if it's 10, 20 years, 15, 18 years ago, but that's the way we tell each other where to go.
Yeah.
That is how I remember each animal, and that's the way I love to hunt. It's, yes, some animals you get quickly, but in general I like to give the experience around it. Otherwise, what are you going to do the rest of the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
And thus most of the animals stands out. The hunt itself, that is never the hunt that stands out, you remember, because to give respect to each animal, and you hunt it a great time. That impala, that kudu, the duiker, pig, or whatever you're doing, it was a great hunt.
Yeah.
Yes, if you would say personalities, then personalities would stand out as if you can categorize that and not necessarily the hunt.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that you would mention, but I would say a person that had a lot of influence on my career is Colonel Jeff Cooper. I met him at the SHOT Show in New Orleans about 1983, 84. I'm not sure about the day, but around there. And he once then afterwards just called me and said, I want to come to South Africa. Well, he used to be an IPSC. He started combat shooting and international pistol shooting. And he had a great course that he would give at gun sight. And there's a lot of history behind that.
Yes.
I had so much looked at the history and looked at the person, and being a pistol man, he taught me a lot, not in a course, but just being him as a person and listening between him and his clients and people with coming.
Yeah.
I learned, and I would have loved to be in a course or being taught by him, but I never had the opportunity. So I figured that having the crumbles from the table and the scrap coming off, I utilized that, mixed it with some of my experience, and I'm very fortunate to say that I learned tremendous lot of things from him in the hunting. He is a person that designed the Scout mount rifle with a big eye relief, and he used the 308 and the different 350 Remington on the Scout rifle, and the principle is having both eyes open, shooting quickly. And I must say 30 or 40 clients that I had from Jeff referring to me, I had but no one that I ever had to babysit.
Yeah.
And that was a great fortune on that. But Jeff, a colonel where he was, and a great name, he didn't make his name with me because of history. He made his name with what he was and what he acted to be. Not act, he was never an actor. Money was never a concern with him. It was if you can shoot straight and tell the truth, that would be his motto in the hunting field.
Yeah.
He came to me once on a visit and said to me, he'd like to hunt a lion. Now, for somebody to come and tell me he wants to hunt a lion, I said, very well, but where and how? And I've got to plan that because lions come out of the park. He came to me and he said to me, he's booking a lion hunt. And he's not using money. He's going to use this knife that he gave me, custom made for a friend, Jeff Cooper, is a friend of his made. He gave me the knife, said, here's my deposit. Because now for some people, if you are a businessman, you wouldn't accept a knife for a deposit.
Yeah.
But as Jeff Cooper was a person that you would say, would you want to with somebody? Well, if I give you a number, you should phone or write him a letter and ask him if you can hunt with Danie van Graan. But please include a $2,000 check in it while you're asking him. So if that is not a good business deal, you know, I don't know what type of business the best. So he gave me that specific knife on which I had to book him the safari, and he came the next year, and we had a great experience on this specific hunt. Some lions came through on the Kruger Park and on that time area, and there was still open ground on the riverside area. I had the great fortune to go and try and get this one lion, but he was so unselfish. He wanted to finish first his hunts with his kids, his grandchildren, and after that he would go and hunt the lion. It took me to keep this lion at bay with baits and things, and finally when he was ready he said we can go. He didn't like to sit at the blind, so we had to do a drive with lions coming up towards him, and he finally took this lion at 12 yards, I guess, with the people chasing it up to us, and he couldn't see the lion first. I had to move him, and I had to I was so excited running towards and getting him. I could never see where he was, and as that stage my professional huntership just almost failed me totally. I didn't look behind, and he was not there. He was like 20-30 yards. He fell in a ditch. So it was my good friend Almon, the tracker I talked about. He didn't pick him up and draped him around and start running towards me. So all I saw coming up the side of the steep donga was Almond with this Colonel Cooper on his back. He felt very dishonored that he should be carried by this person. He got him in a position and almost fell down, and he was in a standing position. And at that stage, the lion was just approaching us, and he could get a shot at one, and at 25 yards. Now, normally a lion would charge and come towards you and stop at about 10-12 yards, and he managed to fire a shot and hit it again. And coming back to the camp, he asked me to do a phone call, and I said to him, well, pretty well, Colonel. He phoned, and I heard his conversation. He said to the guy, well, is that printing? He said, yes. He said, well, stop my book. It's printing of another country. And I thought, he said, but Colonel, how can we stop? He said, doesn't matter what it costs, but stop it. He said, why should we stop it? They said, because there's another chapter coming. Yeah. So it was so interesting. This book, he was busy printing, and after this book, he had to stop it because at the end, he had this chapter about close encounter.
Right.
And starting, they're coming. That is what we plan. I'm ready, as am going to be. They're coming. And this is me being excited about this lion coming. And my first charge ever I had a lion. We shot a lot of lion. But my first charge was this lion standing in front of us, and he's coming, and I thought, well, I've learned so many and read about so many, we shot so many lions, but never really had to charge. I saw him growling, I saw him going out of his way, and I saw him going low, and his tail was wiggling, and he was coming, and he was really, so when I saw him here at 12 yards, I was on the point of shooting it.
Yeah.
But to be able to hold back was kind of just maybe lucky. I myself also froze, being not a good professional hunter, but lucky for Mr. Cooper, and he could shot his lion, of which made him very, very happy.
Sure.
And that was the 5th of August. And since he's passed away, he will always fax me a happy lion anniversary.
Oh, really?
We had a little lion anniversary, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. I've got here an inscription which goes with the knife itself. I'd just like to read it for the camera. It says, "This knife is one of a kind. It was made for Jeff Cooper by one of his friends. Jeff booked his famous lion hunt with me and used this knife as a deposit on the hunt. He valued the knife more than any amount of money he could give me. This motivated me more than anything else to give him the best possible experience. Jeff came with his family on safari and shot his lion charging at 12 yards. I see his book, Another Country, last chapter called Close Encounter, August 1992, and that's now what you've referred to. Very interesting, wonderful. A wonderful memory, that.
Yeah.
And a wonderful friendship that you developed with a great man.
Yeah. But you know, as I said, Dave, you can go numerous times, and that I had experiences with people. I was sitting in the blind one day out here hunting for warthogs.
Yeah.
Now we used to take some oranges and put them in the water. It'll be great, and people will remember how we sat, and the kudos will come in. We would then wait. I sat in this blind. I was kind of falling asleep, as normally I'm falling asleep in the blind, and Alex Fagan and his wife, we sat there and waited for this warthog, and he's very eager to shoot the warthog. It was his obsession.
Yeah, yeah.
So as we're sitting, and I felt asleep behind, it's a little blind called a Landau blind, and there's also another story.
Yes.
We sat, and I didn't look out, and then suddenly he said to me while taking a nap, he said, "Danie, there he is." I said, "Well, Alex." Now, Alex is the second in charge of San Francisco Metropolitan Police Force.
Right.
And I said, "Alex, take him." He said to me, "Danie, there he is." I said, "Yes, take him, now." And the shot went up, and when I took around, if you would see that blind, it had a high back seat.
Yes.
As I come around the corner there, I didn't see, I said, "Did you get him?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Zebek," he said to me, "Yes." He said, "Danie, but it's a lion." I said, "Alex, you know, shit, no, it couldn't be. I haven't got a license for this damn thing." He said, "Well, you should have known." And then the lion was gone, and we had to sneak behind this because we want to get him, and there was blood going, and we didn't have the trackers as we sat in the blind.
Yes.
We went through hand and knees, and finally, as we went ahead, we poked the barrel of the gun to anything that looks like a lion's ass of a tail, you know,
Yeah.
to be able to shoot immediately. We found the lion who was dead. So it was very funny that when I listened to the explanation of when we walked in, and now Fish and Wildlife and conservation there, and I didn't have permit. First I wanted to say, no, I shot the lion and kick it. No, I didn't shoot. I wanted a permit for a lion, trying to give. So I said to them, "Sir, listen, I shot the lion." You know, they normally would come out lions and they would give me a permit.
Yeah.
And it was wrong. You know, I shot a lion without a license. Full stop. That was dark. So I knew there was some trouble coming. So we had an investigation.
Yeah.
So Alex was sitting there, and he was with the person interrogating him. He will ask him, Well, what happened actually? He said, no, we come here for this and this hunt, but we were sitting there. He said, now why did you shoot that? Well, we're hunting pigs. So finally we saw, I said, now why did you shoot the lion? He said, beside the fact that Danie said to me to shoot it, I'm so worried about my pig. And when I saw this lion on my oranges, I was afraid he's going to eat all the oranges and then no pigs comes in. So finally I solved this problem with the pig and he shot the lion. And poor Alex, he's been so many times with me now all over the country and Zimbabwe, he still doesn't have his pig. So it's actually a good business deal if you would say, well, everybody's got a lion already, but no pig. You know? But the problem is just that you don't know, how to get a pig. So it is kind of a hard thing, and good to Alex, and like other incidents I can always recall, it's also with the lion hunt. And I guess those days it wasn't legal, or was it legal? I couldn't remember. But I had a friend that was sick, and he was really bad, called Al Landau.
Yeah.
And we had a lion too somewhere, and I saw this guy he's not going to make it but I want to make his wish true.
Yeah.
I really want to make the wish true. So I would go and tell him that yes, we can get a lion, but we should be very a little careful on the matter because he's a sick person. So I said to him, okay, could we go and do it the way we should do it? Can I, for his casevac, if he would get sick, he's a heart problem, can we get a guy with a helicopter, jet planes, he can sit there and we sneak into this den of the lion. Well, Al said to him, that is fine, we'll do that. Anything, Danie, what you think, it's okay. So so we would be together with this Al for about a week or two, and then when he was ready for this hunt, I said to him, "Is that fine?" He said, "Still, it's good."
Yeah.
So we went into in a long story short, we went into the situation in the bush where he was, and I asked him, "Please, can we just," or he asked, "Can this person just go in the air, because that make it easier to find this lion?" So as we went in the bush, he suddenly had this very heart attack, bad heart attack. I assume it was a heart attack, but he was breathing very badly, and he was very hard breathing, and I could see he was in trouble.
Yeah.
The helicopter was in the air. I had one of my trackers start pointing down. I had no radio, and as I was looking at him with the binoculars, he looked down and he was pointing at me. I said, "Why does this son of a bitch point at me?" I know where I am. But then he get the heart attack. And I said to him, "Al, I guess you can die." He said, "Well, but at least I'll die in nice circumstances." No, shit, you can't do that. So I had the orange juice, pop a hole in it and start squeezing in it. But he's a short, fat little guy. And as I start squeezing through into his mouth, I was watching over his shoulder, and about 5 yards from me, I could see that lion's tail sticking out of the bush. He's hanging down because he's feeling this helicopter movement.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't know what to do now. So I said, the only thing is, and then I said, "Al, don't worry, just relax, man." So as he relaxed, I said to him, "Okay, that's fine." I said, "Al, but as you remember, we were hunting a lion. And for great sake, this lion was still hanging in there with a commotion. He's still staying low. That's the lion. He never jumps out like a normal animal."
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, turn around and you will see a little green patch. I want you to shoot in the green patch." He said, "Why?" I said, "Don't ask. Can't. Because if you want to try and find where the lion is, you're going to find it. And it's going to take time and it's going to eat us because it's too close." He turned around and pulled the trigger, shot the lion through the stomach, and the lion came out like a rocket out of a silo. The guy up in the helicopter said he was completely like a rocket coming out of the canopy of a silo, because the canopy was quite low, about 8 feet high.
Yeah.
And finally, he shot the lion and he got by. And so sad for Al. He finally died going back to the States on a heart attack.
Really, did he?
Really? When he was back, and he had. And when I visited him in his apartment in Florida, I walked in there, and he had this lion lying down there, because I fed him orange juice as he had a heart attack. He said, shot by the orange juice lion hunter.
Really? Yeah.
And it was interesting. Well, now some people would now say, well, it was in a helicopter. Well, at least the helicopter could have helped him having the problem on that, and that's why I had to utilize that. It was not trying to find it. We knew where it was. Everything was fine.
Yeah.
So that is how these different little things happened.
Amazing experiences and memories. Gee. Danie, just a couple of questions with regard to the industry itself. How do you view the South African hunting industry, sort of the present and the future? How do you see it?
You know, Dave, it is so hard, because I think it's a great industry, but there's so many factors that influences this industry because of the amount of people that wants to get into the industry. And I have a very good feeling for somebody who wants to get into this industry and wants to be a professional hunter and craves to do that and don't really have the means. There's a lot of space to hunt, and there's a lot of things. I don't think it kills. What kills the industry is not how many people, and it's how they are, and what type of person he is, and how does he conduct his hunt, how does he conduct his business deals. Those things kills the industry, number one. And then, of course, if the game distinguish, and you know, like in Africa, where you have more and more people and developments is coming on. Even here, when there's so many developments, we're sitting here, we used to use lion roars, now we have maybe a highway in the background. That would kill the industry. But if there are people that's not just positive professional hunters, he must be a conservationist first, because otherwise he can't hunt tomorrow. If he keeps talking about how great person and Rambo, not specifically he is, but between the lines, then you would find his main focus is not being a conservationist, but being or a hunter or a person that wants to conduct business. Unfortunately, or fortunately, this, if you are a businessman first and then a hunter second, it's not the way you want it. You must be a conservationist first, and then you must be a businessman, and then you can go on. So at this stage, there's so many people, so many things happening, especially within the country. But I think there are enough people that can hold it. That will just make the difference in the pricing of professional hunters. Safaris is selling later on. Is how much money is going to be. So it's going to be pricey later on, and you have to, because things are going up. Food, gas, everything is going up. It's ridiculous as it goes, but if the world economy also goes up, then it would be can be a success.
That's right. I understand that. Do you feel the industry is perhaps in a sense over-regulated now?
You know, over-regulated, you mean too many regulations on what to do on. I personally don't think so. I would rather have over-regulation than under-regulation. Because over-regulation, you can go and scream and say, but the pantry will still be there and there will be still food. We'll just have to break down the door. We must talk to you, must get entrance either legally or legally but there will be always something to go and take. But if you have it too low and not regulated, what you're going to find is an empty pantry there where you want to go. In that broad spectrum, I would say it makes it hard for people. You complain, but we are so many outside there, and to distinguish between who really wants to hunt, who really wants to make business out of it. And that brings me to a point why I'm sitting here after 25, 26 years and having just being a professional hunter myself. People would have already a big business with people hunting for him. I have a passion for being out with people and taking a hunt. Then I think to myself, you know, why should I hire people if I'm sitting at home doing so? So as long as I can hunt, I'd like to go out and take part of the pleasure on that. Yes, now I'm, you know, I can't walk or I will have a problem. Then I need to have somebody. But I'm looking at future people and so on. It's hard to have somebody always with you. So as it is in Africa, we look into investing in some youngsters, like this youngster that I've been around with, and see if he can't be a good professional hunter. It comes back to where you must be enthusiastic, and you must have love for nature, and you must be a people's person, and then later on you have the businessman. Now unfortunately, if you put the business side at the end, the guy that's the good hunter, he's going to fall out because he doesn't put business-wise on top. So he must be clever enough to have people that can support him to be able to be to have his good characteristic coming out.
Danie, something I did want to ask you was, is there do you see an increasing influence from the anti-gun lobby, the Greens, the sort of eco people who just, many of them just blindly against hunting because they don't understand the conservation ethic that drives the hunting industry? Is that an influence?
In a certain way, Dave, you must understand that in that category, people has different personalities, and in that category you'll have good people that stands for the sake, but unfortunately there's no something in between. So a lot of those people are with the green peace people. Now you ask yourself, and we want to make them absolute enemies on us because they are anti-gun and anti-this. Sometimes with the influence of the circumstance and how things is roller coasting, and what you say avalanching. It's going to be so many guns later on that sometimes I think, you know what, it's maybe not a bad thing if there's some restriction somewhere, as long as they don't overrule the situation. Because then everybody will have a gun, everybody will shoot at anything that moves. And in our industry and our group, you also will have that far extreme people that's really the killers, that's not really the hunters, that even us wouldn't like to associate with that type of person. I wish those two extremists will find themselves another battleground where they would go and fight and finish themselves up while we carry on and doing this conservation. So I don't think we must always go and put a etiquette on them as they all enemy.
Danie, finally, we've taken up a lot of your time, but I'd just be interested in your comments with regard to advice for young people wanting to come into the industry. You have sort of touched on the sort of character requirements that you see, but the profile of a successful professional hunter, a young guy coming into the industry, what would you see as the important requirements that they should really exhibit?
You know, first thing is, I think Jeff Cooper had a little saying, and I can't repeat the words exactly, but they say self-control is the answer of a lot of flaws of the character. So from the beginning, I would say if you have self-control, because we are not the same personalities going into that. And for anybody that wants to be in a business, first of all, I wouldn't say you must have a good business ability, whatever driving ability or shooting ability or story-taking ability. You must be able to judge people, because if you can judge the person and the people, you would know how to react and to give them the best possible experience that they have. You cannot make it nice for a person if you have a set of rules and apply it on everybody coming. He's a different person, that's a different person. So somebody comes and he's a great shooter. He loves to shoot ballistic, but he's coming to shoot an Impala because he has this ability or his knowledge. He knows so many grains, 250 will do this on that, and and so you have to be in that. You can educate him little later on, saying there's more in that. Then your other person would come and say, okay, I want to hunt a 58-inch kudu. I want a 3.5-inch red duiker. And it's all about the trophy. Well, that's one correct. And then the other person is coming here with he wants a great experience. He doesn't know too much of ballistic, but he's a hunter. And doesn't matter, that doesn't make one better than the other one at all. So if you can see what type of person, and then you can concentrate on that aspect, and also gradually bring in the other characteristics into that person's life, so that he can go back. And that is my motto, is when he goes back, he must be a mixture of these three extreme types that you have. If he is then finally is excited hunter, of which maybe he's not really a great hunter. It doesn't mean he'd be a good shot to be a hunter. So there's the three mixture. Now he suddenly is a better shot. Now suddenly he knows about ballistics. Now suddenly he knows about, wow, you know what, the Impala, you judge like that. Now that's a 22 Impala. And you know what, I actually shot him myself. I chose him myself. Suddenly he becomes a little bit more a trophy hunter. Why would I tell him to be a trophy hunter? Not to be high up in the book, but because that extends the pleasure of being out in the bush. If you wouldn't be trophy hunting, you would shoot all the animals the first day. So now you say, no, let's do another stalk. We can get a bigger one. And finally you say, well, the one that saw 3 days ago, let's go back and take the track and see if we can find the other one. So now you have the mixture of that. And you send the guy back with his trophy. Now semi-ballistic is per a pleasant hunter. Not that you made him an alcoholist. Now he might enjoy my gin tonics better. And then the final thing is he is also a trophy hunter, and he loves nature. And then in the three categories, normally they don't have the knowledge of the conservation things. So you would like to tell him, listen, we've opened these trees here and the territory of this animal. You talk about animal. So you bring in this other aspect. Not that it makes me a professional known thing. It's just what I know is what I experience, and what I read, and what I experience from other people. I learned from other people before my time. And that I always tell people, listen, the experience I can give you, most of it comes from that guy or that guy, but I'm glad to give it over to you. And I'm blessed to have this wonderful experience that I can give to you and take it back. If you don't want it, just tell me. I'll send you back right now.